keyboard on the computer. Yay. Okay. Kelly, will you just tell us who you are, where you live to start?
Yeah. Well, hey, Ashley. My name's Kelly Wilson, and I'm joining y'all from Austin, Texas. And I'm a few things. Yeah, we all are. I'm a yoga teacher. I'm a tree farmer. Um, Sometimes I'm an improv student, and I also work in grant making and philanthropy.
Beautiful. That's so cool. A tree farmer. How cool. All kinds of trees or
Native and adaptive Texas trees,
beautiful.
specifically.
What's your
Yeah.
favorite?
Ooh. Um, Well, I had some particular flavors of the year this year, but they haven't done well throughout the
Oh,
Texas summer, which has been a bit sad. There's one called, some folks will know it, the um, oh gosh, um, it poofs out.
ah,
It's called it's like purple. I found it a lot when I was in Colorado, and of course I'm blanking on it now that you ask.
that's okay. That's okay.
It's called No. Oh, I want to get there. Um, I'm gonna yell it out. It's like the bush tree, but that's not right. It's like I'm gonna yell it out in a little bit,
I love
but
it. That would be
been so
perfect.
sad because it's just like a little bit, it's too hot here
Okay.
for it. And so it's not gonna survive the summer, which is
Okay.
tragic, but we might play with like the soil, like a different, like alkaline, like give it like a little different pH balance to see if it can bounce back.
How
But I think
cool.
it really wants like higher altitude, which is
Okay.
change.
Okay. How
Yeah.
cool. That is so
Uh,
neat. What what got you into yoga then?
Mm. I've done, so I'm 35. I've done yoga probably, I think my first encounter with yoga was actually just my parents doing
Oh,
yoga when I was growing up. Just like my dad had a really strong, like, and still does, like, morning practice. But I think would go to like Iyengar yoga. Um, And so I had a familiarity with it through that, but I didn't start practicing and like going to studios myself until I was probably in college and then afterwards. Something about it always like resonated. It always like filled my cup in just the right way. I think probably especially as I was like stepping away from religion that I had grown up with that didn't make sense to me and stepping into just things that did make sense. And I think it filled more than just the physical workout cup. And I think something even subconsciously about that had me like keep taking steps towards it. And I was always like, one day one day I'll probably do a teacher training. And I was kind of just waiting for some things to align and feel right. And
totally.
yeah, about 2 years ago, all those things kind of lined up.
Wow. So your parents were practicing yoga and that's how you
Yeah.
got into it.
That was my introduction, at least. I
That's
don't know
so
that they like
neat.
really trained me to be a little yogi or
Yeah.
anything like that, but
But
yeah.
by them practicing, like that's something you observed. And so,
Yeah.
and you said your dad still to this day has a
Mhm.
morning practice. Like
Yeah.
that's so cool. I love that. What a gift to like see that. I
Strong
think,
examples. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So then how did you find, do you have like a home yoga studio that you practice at? Is that where you did your training or?
Yeah, so I moved, I left the state of Texas for about a decade. I think everyone should. And um I have spent a good amount of time on the East Coast bouncing around, and
Cool.
returned in 2022. And yeah, right when I moved into Austin, I found the one of the closest yoga studios to me on the east side was Dharma Yoga.
Mm,
And got great reviews. And I walked in and it was just like the simplest, sweetest yoga space. Like there was just one studio, but it was so well loved and like very clearly like a space to practice, like
mm,
not just yoga, but like all the layers of like spirituality and Buddhism. And yeah, all of that came across in the practices
mm.
at that studio. And I was just like, yeah. this is it. Like something inside me was just, it was like, there was not a lot of thinking. It was more like heart, you know, it
A
was like, here we
feeling.
are. This is good.
Wow.
This will do.
Oh,
This
how
fits.
cool. That is so cool. What are they offering? Like all different styles of yoga there or
Yeah. So interestingly, like it is the studio of kind of one man.
cool.
So Keith Koshtik has been, he has run this studio called Dharma Yoga in Austin for, say, over 20 years. It's the longest running studio in Austin. Um, and when he started out, like, he was, I think, initially kind of had aspirations that Dharma yoga would become, you know, like a vinyasa, like a you know, like a type of yoga that people practice. Um, and and I think, you know, we have all seen how that has gone from for many a men who have attempted to do that,
Totally.
and like flying too close to the sun,
Yeah.
in that way. And um, Keith, as like a seasoned yoga teacher in his 60s,
Mm.
is has like decided and come to a like a beautiful piece with like, I want to run one studio really well.
Yes.
And so I was intrigued by the studio because like it was a lot of him teaching classes. I
Okay.
was a little confused by that. Like there weren't like as many different, there weren't like a million yoga classes happening a day. There weren't a
Yeah.
million teachers. It was like a lot of Keith, but I went to Keith's classes and I was like, well, my goodness, they're great. He's
Mm,
great. It's
mm.
great. um, yeah, yeah.
That's so
So
cool.
just drew me in.
I love that so much. So then you were practicing there, you found your yoga home. What got you interested in a teacher training?
Mm. I think you never know what you're gonna say, but I
Yeah.
think I was starting like I needed something to be in love with
Mm,
again. Like I, you know, like I it used to be my work, and I think I was like deep levels of burnt out
mm.
through my work and being in like social justice and philanthropy
Yes.
in, you know, good work. I'm feeling really tired in that and really feeling really, I think, tired of identifying with that and needing to find deeper levels of meaning in the universe, you know.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
So
yeah,
resonant.
and yeah, and so I think the timing just aligned nicely where, you know, you have to have a little like you've got to have a little bit of money to do yoga teacher training like
Yeah.
anywhere. So I had like a little stash of funds for it. It felt like the right timing with my job, and I'd found the place that I wanted to do it. So it just sort
Yes.
of all sweetly aligned in a way that I could say yes without hesitating.
That's so
Yeah.
cool. That is so cool. So your studio, Dharma Yoga, that you trained through, they're not Yoga Alliance certified training. So
They're
can
not.
you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I was a student there for about a year when
Mm,
they started advertising the teacher training, and I was like, this is something that I'm interested in. Um, there's kind of sparse information about exactly what you would get out of it, though, you know, like you're like, oh, but I'm paying so much money, you know, I want to do
sure.
my due diligence. Like I don't want to be a fool. I don't want to be like, you know, like swindled. Like,
Yes, absolutely.
and there's this fear that, you know, you know, what in the world are you doing and how are you going to tell people in your life what you've, you know, what you've
Yes.
just, you know,
Yes.
this is where I chose to go. Um, and I did get hung up on the fact that this wasn't Yoga Alliance certified. I was always like, if you ask Chat, I wasn't asking ChatGPT at that point. It was like right
Yes.
before the cusp of that. But today, if you ask
Yes.
ChatGPT, like, what should I look at
Yeah.
for a yoga teacher training? It's like, well, make sure it's Yoga Teacher Alliance certified because
Yeah.
otherwise, like, you won't be able to get a job.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, well, that does seem important.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, and it's like I was doing it to become a teacher, but also like I had a full-time job, you know, so it wasn't like the most important thing for me
Yeah.
to be so marketable.
Yes.
Um, and I struggled because I guess a personal bit that I'll share is that I have one sister and she is 2 years older than me. So I am the younger sister in this equation. She is also a yoga teacher.
Oh,
She and I are
wow.
very different types of personalities.
Yes.
She's very type A. She's like extremely pitta. I also got pitta, which I struggled with. I was like, no, I'm air. Anyway,
Yes.
got some similar. But anyway, she was a little miffed by the fact that I was even considering
Uh,
a yoga teacher training that didn't have this Yoga Alliance certification.
mm,
So I hesitated. I had a few kind of step back conversations
yes.
with Keith, who has always run his training without Yoga Alliance certification. And
Yes.
through that, I think I like came to educate myself a little bit more on like what in the world Yoga Alliance certification is, what it's
Yes.
guaranteeing, you
Yes.
know, like
Yes.
it and the only thing I, could walk away guaranteeing was like it guarantees two things. It guarantees the number of hours you will spend doing a thing,
Yes.
which doesn't guarantee retention, it doesn't guarantee quality, it doesn't guarantee like anything. It's
Yes.
just like amount of time is
Yes.
standardized. And then the other thing is that you will pay them.
Yes.
And I'm not interested in another subscription fee.
Yes.
Um, and so what I put my trust in, instead of putting my trust in this thing that sounded legitimate, that
Yeah.
sounded official, but like if I looked into it, it seemed like pretty hollow.
Yes.
Um, was that I looked at the person who, that in my being, it felt like a clear yes. Like I would like to
Yes.
learn this ancient practice from
Yes.
you, a man who seems to live it in a way that draws me in.
Yes.
Um, like we've all been alive longer than Yoga Alliance has been alive.
Yes.
Which is
Yes.
not the way that like yoga
Yes.
teachers have been taught for um thousands of years, and it
That's so
certainly
real.
won't change again.
Yes.
But yeah, I think I checked in with myself and I thought, look, if this man was a fraud, right? Which is what you're like, am I getting again swindled?
Yes. Yes.
He wouldn't have been allowed to stay in town and teach 2 yoga teacher trainings a year for
Yeah.
20 years.
20 years.
So
Absolutely.
fine, you know what, like I don't think as a society we put enough value on
Mm.
relational knowledge and relational ways of knowing. And so it's just like I don't know what Yoga Alliance is. I don't know a single person who like works at it. Like I
Yeah.
have no trust with Yoga Alliance, but I'm
Yeah.
like, this man's been teaching me yoga. I like what he's got. I want to
Yes.
learn from him. And yeah, I just followed that gut instinct. And I was
Ugh.
like, if he was doing something wild or weird, like he would have been old school canceled,
Yes.
like
Totally.
like
Totally.
you can't keep a business that way. So I was like, something
Ugh.
good is happening here. And I just have to trust that and not be so, I don't know, like not just cynical, but like it's just a very Western mentality to bring
Totally.
into the yoga practice.
Totally.
Yeah.
Kelly, everything you just said was like so beautifully said. And I would love to know more about your conversations or conversation with Keith as you like were making this decision. Because the gut feeling that you talk about, that is like incredible. Like I hope that we can all tune in to tap into that sort of
Yeah.
thing. But I would love to know more about your conversations or conversation with him about like, hey Keith, I'm really thinking about doing this teacher training with you. What do you think about the Yoga Alliance? Or what was
Right.
that conversation like with him?
Yeah. Um, yeah, so I came in, he knew I was thinking about doing the training. He's like,
Yeah.
Kelly, like, like we're coming up on the deadline, like
Yeah.
what are you
Are we
thinking?
doing
Like
this?
there's a great group of, incredibly accomplished women who are like signed up, a lot of
Yes.
women,
It's
signed up
awesome.
for this class. And I was like, well, that I do. do love me some incredibly ambitious, accomplished women. Like I
Absolutely.
do love that company.
Yes.
And he was like,
Yes.
you know, like what's holding you back? And I'm sure I wasn't, you know, I think I mumbled something about like, oh, I'm balanced, you know, like, oh, just like time management and
Yes.
you know, which of course are concerns.
Yeah.
Um, and then I did mention the Yoga Alliance thing,
Yeah.
which I could tell bothered him.
Okay.
And I think it's like something he's had to respond to and defend. And it's like just
Totally.
it being so new, which was an
Yeah.
interesting thing, I think, to see a yoga instructor strike that chord.
Totally. A little
Right? You
sandpapery.
don't see that in the class setting.
Yes.
And I remember him telling me, you know, it is a membership directory.
Mm.
Like basically like kind of, whereas in one ear I had my sister telling me like it is the official legitimate, like if you want to teach yoga, like why would you waste
Governing body.
money
Yeah.
doing anything else?
Yeah.
And on the other hand, you know, a man who has practiced yoga for his livelihood,
Yes.
and runs a very like accomplished studio in Austin,
Yes.
you know, sharing with me that I am mistaken.
Yeah.
Um, and that I have been fooled, the very thing I didn't want to be, you know, like
Yes.
this is nothing, like there's no man behind the curtain, like
Yeah.
there's um like it just guarantees hours.
Yeah.
There's no curriculum, and if there was, that would be problematic, which is why they've never done it,
Yes.
because there's so many different lineages of yoga, and it's such a like it is a personal thing, but like a living thing, and it's like you can't cage that. So I'm kind of glad they haven't put a curriculum to it, because I think that would
Yes.
even be more damaging.
Yes.
But without it, like I started to see it as just through like, so what I have like fiercely developed in my life is like a corporate like accountability lens, or like a just corporate malfeasance really upsets me, really gets
Yes.
me going.
It's real.
And so when I start to when that's triggered in me, then I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm not, yeah, oh yeah, no, I'm not about that.
Yes. I'm
Um,
rebelling against this, actually.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's something very like, as a liberal growing up in Texas, like like
Yeah.
there's just some fire about that. I don't know.
Totally.
But
Totally.
yeah, whenever I reframed in my mind as like, don't don't be a sucker. You don't need to buy into this. Like it's nothing.
Yes.
Like it's
Yes.
nothing, but it's only something because everyone's bought into it. Because I think there is there's just this like real, and I've only been teaching, I just hit a year of teaching like a regular weekly class. I'm coming up on
Yes.
like 2 years of being an actual yoga teacher. And
Yeah.
still I feel this way. I feel like, am I a yoga teacher? Like,
Yeah.
like it's still, you know, it still feels like I'm playing a part, like I'm like rehearsing, or I'm putting on like a certain hat. And I think especially, you know, there's no like, you apply to a yoga teacher training, but very rarely is anyone like rejected.
Right.
There are a
That's
lot of yoga teachers out there.
yes. Absolutely.
Um, and so you kind of want some assurance that like on the other end, like that you're legitimate somehow.
Totally. Totally.
And like somehow this certification that's recognized across like kind of gives you that.
Yeah.
Um, and no, I don't want to sell it short. Like I do think the other thing that I thought about was the fact that I plan to be in Austin for a while. Like I plan to keep my feet here.
Yes.
And I thought, well, so long as my feet are here,
Yeah.
having trained under a very well-known, locally established Austinite, like I couldn't go wrong. Like I could just say I trained under Keith, hard stop, and they'd be like, oh, great.
Yeah. You're
You
hired.
know, what if I moved to Denver, if I moved to New York, which, you know, like I could,
Yes.
you know, then I think it loses its currency
Yeah.
a little bit. And then I was like, you know, but I wasn't so, you know, like I wasn't trying to make it my life's like entire work to be being a yoga teacher at this point in time, or
Yes.
at that
Yes.
point in time.
Yeah.
Um, and so I just sort of went with it. And I
Yeah.
thought, you know, I'm staying in this community. I want to be in like a big part of doing yoga is to to expand community
Mm.
and to root deeper. And so I'm like, well, this feels like it fits me in that way.
That's so cool. I love that you said he was a little, there was like a chord struck with him when you said, well, it's,
Yeah.
I'm really struggling with this Yoga Alliance piece. Because I think he, like you said, was just very matter of fact, like this is a registry, like it's a
Yeah. He's like, what do you
subscription.
think this is?
Yes,
Yeah. And I'm like, well, I don't know
totally.
what I think this is. Like
Yeah.
I think it's what I'm supposed to do,
Yes. Well, and
with
that's
air
so
quotes.
exactly, exactly. And I think it's so interesting that like from the beginning of our conversation, you were talking about not being swindled, right? But like, and so like
Right.
Dharma yoga was like this like place that wasn't interested in swindling. Like Keith seemed to be very matter of fact. We are not certified with Yoga Alliance, and
Right.
this is
Never will
why.
be, never have been.
Exactly, exactly. And we've been around for this long,
Yeah.
but then this other entity, right, is sort of like swindling all of us, you know?
Right.
And
Well, and like if you think about, I was before this conversation, I had to check myself on the timeline. So like Yoga Alliance didn't start until 1999.
yes,
He
yes,
started his studio in 2002,
yes,
so like he has lived in this parallel world of like,
yeah,
no one was asking him when he first started doing yoga teacher trainings in the early 2000s, like, are you
yes,
certified?
yep,
Like it is a new phenomenon that he has to contend
yes,
with.
yes,
Um,
it
yeah.
is. Absolutely. Gosh, that's what a cool, just thank you for sharing all of that because that's it's really important. All of the points that you made so far, they're just fascinating. And I don't know how many people know all of these things, right? Like, so
Yeah.
it's just so, so integral to talk about. Can you tell me about your time in your teacher training? Like, do you feel do you feel like you got everything you needed, wanted, desired, and or didn't get, or can you tell me about your time in YTT?
So the training, it was 2 months long. We met up on
Awesome.
Fridays and Sundays.
Oh,
So it was definitely quicker than it was quick. No, not quicker. I mean, it was quick. It
yes.
went by fast. It was a January and February,
Oh,
and it was dedicated. You were in it. It was like I had no other social obligations throughout
yeah.
that period. I was like, this, I will do work and I will do yoga,
Yeah.
and that is my life. And and I think this is everyone's reflection of like, there's just so much to learn. Like
Mhm.
I like thought I knew yoga, but like I couldn't have told you like the Sanskrit names for anything. I almost felt like it was like being told the name of a tree you didn't know for the first time, and like you were like,
Yes.
I know this tree, but I never knew its name.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I've been in this pose before, but like now I'm so much like I don't know, this is a
Yeah.
intimate
A
experience.
different relationship with it.
Yeah, yeah,
Totally.
deeper layers of knowing.
Yes.
And also, and like sailing through just like so much philosophy and like like the Patanjali Sutras, like this has
Yes.
never like come into my life before training.
Yes.
And just like tenets of Buddhism. And
Yes.
um, so it was a lot packed into 2 months. And I think I was so satisfied with the kind of spiritual and philosophical components of the training. And it was also definitely why I chose that studio,
Yeah.
was intentionally for that. And I think the pieces that I felt, what I felt not ready about or not right about was that we did very little teaching,
Okay.
like full hour long, fully prepared
Yes.
teaching.
Yeah.
And so, I definitely, I think we taught one private class with like, you're a friend.
Yes.
That was an hour. And then, well, actually, I'll share this, this was a really cool part of my yoga teacher training experience. It was very personal to me, which was that I was also deep into studying improv.
Oh,
was
cool.
also taking improv lessons at the same time.
Yes.
And the very particular way that Keith led his training was like the two rivers crossed
Wow.
of improv and yoga, because his whole thing about training was like, you've kind of got to be ready in the moment to mix it up, to think, and
Yes.
to not, no one wants a stressed out yoga teacher.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to be someone who can delightfully roll with like, oh, like, you know, everyone here's, having a really terrible day,
Yeah.
or like, oh, y'all want to like sweat today, or
Yeah.
oh, like there's a
The
pregnancy,
adaptability.
you know?
Totally.
Yeah. And so like I gotta change it all up in my mind. And so um we had we had written open exam like take home tests, which
Wow.
like took like I didn't expect to feel like I was in college in some,
Yes.
in some ways.
Yes.
Like submitting like 25-page like documents.
Yeah.
So we had a
Wow.
midterm and a final that was like written,
Wow.
um, that combined like asana and yoga philosophy and Buddhism elements
Wow.
questions. But at the very end, we did this. I at first I think it's genius, actually, is how I've come to think of it.
Yes.
But it was a collective exercise where there were like 17 or 18 of us who were getting certified. And on the final class day, we had something like 90 minutes. And he said, I'm going to call you up in random order, and you're going to lead the group in asana. If you're picked at the beginning, do something appropriate
Oh,
for for the beginning of class. In the middle, same. At the end, start to close it down. He was like, you have
wow.
to have an intention for your 5 minutes.
Okay.
So just kind of like get that out there.
Yeah.
Um, and you can't repeat any poses.
Wow.
So like, and you
Wow.
can't repeat any intention. So like, if someone comes out there with courage, you can't go up there with courage.
Wow.
And so it was like this we were all so stressed out.
I have full body chills.
But it was so beautiful and so fun at the end of it, like, and
Wow.
the end of it, I appreciated it so much because I could have spent so much time planning like the perfect class and leading
Absolutely.
it and feeling like I'm a perfect yoga teacher.
Yes.
But instead, what he tested was like our ability to like, you actually just have to know it all and be
Yeah.
so comfortable with your knowing that you can be present and in the now during this exam, to like witness your peers, take note of what they're putting out there, the asana, the intentions, and then put whatever you have on the mat and like go with it, and like
Yes.
everything did great, and it was really beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I think that uh, it just speaks to what he's doing and for all the years he's been doing it, right?
Yeah.
Like so many teacher trainings, you go in, memorize a script, you memorize,
Right.
this set of cues
Right.
or postures. Whereas, like, it sounds like you spent, now, were you there for 200 hours or
I think so
not
debatable.
that it matters, right? Like,
No, no, we were not in session. We were in, I think the way Keith calculated it to be
yes,
approximate was like between coming into the teacher trainings, between, we got to go to classes for free throughout, which
yes,
was the standard kind of studio practice.
yes, totally.
Between like the classes you're expected to attend, and
Yeah,
between, I think, like studying and take home, like sure, it was probably 200
yeah,
hours.
yeah,
But I do think the 200 hours are a little bit more rigorous about it being in certain ways, but
totally,
I would say it was
totally.
cheaper than other
Yeah.
programs as well.
Yes.
That was
Well,
awesome.
and more condensed,
Yeah,
which like 2 months and you were there on Fridays and Sundays,
right,
whereas many teacher trainings are Thursday through Sunday or Friday through Sunday. And that's a lot
right.
of time.
It's
There are
such, yeah,
only 4 weekends in a month, right? Like
yeah,
I think about that all the time.
yeah,
And so I think what he's done, what he's created is like you said, genius. Like
yeah.
he,
And I thought a lot, because there was so much of me that felt, I graduated, and I was
yes.
like, but I still haven't taught like a
Yeah.
60-minute public class. So in that way, I was like, again, am I a yoga teacher?
Sure,
Which
sure.
again, everyone is left with that question in some way, lingering
Yes.
for some undetermined amount of time.
Yeah,
What I
absolutely.
loved about the workshop where you and I met was like when
Yes.
they allowed a group of yoga teachers in a workshop together to choose
Yes.
whether or not they self-identified as like a beginner teacher,
Yes.
a medium experienced teacher, or an
Yeah,
expert. I was like, yeah, it is in the eye of like in the eye of the beholder. And
totally.
anyway,
I totally agree with you.
but yeah, so that's why I say like I went through, I think a like I went through a lot of different, like I'm someone who likes to think about facilitation, learning design, and
Yeah.
all these things. And like, so I don't know if this is, I know this is a thing, and I don't know if this is a thing in your training. I
Yeah.
think it's somewhat common, but to submit svadhyaya entries like to the person leading the training,
Okay.
like journal entries. Is that something that you did?
We do journal entries, but like nobody ever has to submit them.
Oh.
Yeah.
This was like a true like a accountability buddy like
Yeah.
system. And it was interesting because a lot
Wow.
of times during my yoga teacher training, like the things I was journaling or svadhyayaing about
Yes.
were about the training. I was like, oh, I don't know if I agree like this, because I'm just reflecting on how, anyway, all is to say
Yeah.
that final exercise
Yes.
I really sat with, and I was like, was that the craziest thing we've ever done? I was like, oh, no, I think that's genius. I think that
Yes.
was actually prepared us for so much more than teaching one class perfectly and feeling really good about it, but not actually learning
Absolutely.
that
Absolutely.
much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like that whole connecting, that confluence of improv and yoga teacher training, like how, I mean, totally synchronistic timing.
Yeah. It was sweet.
How perfect. Like that's incredible.
Yeah.
I am wondering if you have any other pieces before we kind of shift a little bit to a couple of other questions, because everything that you're saying is incredible. So if there is more, like, please.
Maybe one more thought and then a question
Yes,
for you, if
please.
I may.
I love it. I love it.
So yeah, so one of the reasons I think I'm not able to reflect so positively on this, but like I
Yeah.
think something that helps. So I've now taught at Dharma Yoga, the studio I've trained at, for a little over a year now.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that has really obviously helped solidify this whole thinking of like
Totally.
good teacher, it's like,
Totally.
oh girl, you're doing it.
You're
Like you're
doing
doing
it.
it regularly, putting it
Yep.
all together. Like, yes,
Yep.
you are.
Yes.
Um, and I definitely know my peers in that group, have not necessarily established like and maybe not all of them are trying, but
Yeah.
like, they're not all regularly teaching yoga. They're
Yeah.
teaching yoga maybe here or there, or like, I don't know. There's actually like, we have a very mixed group, and different folks have like established themselves in really wonderful ways. But I can
Absolutely.
definitely see that if that hadn't happened for me, like
Mhm.
still feeling like, oh, and like I don't know how like now I would feel really confident applying to another place,
Yeah.
not having that missing credential.
Yes.
Um, but if I was like just newly certified, had no teaching experience, and was like applying to places that didn't know me,
Yeah.
um, I think that could be harder. Um,
Totally.
I definitely feel a lot more confident in being able to branch out and expand where I'm
Yes.
teaching and all of that, but I mean, that's having experience under the belt like that, that's always going to help.
There's nothing
Um,
better, right? Like
yeah.
that
Yeah.
real
Well,
life
exactly.
experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
That just, yeah, nothing makes you, a student like being a teacher, I think is what I
Exactly. Phew.
find.
That
Yeah.
is, you could say that again because that
Yeah.
was beautiful. Nothing makes
Uh,
you a student like being a teacher. That was
yeah.
beautiful.
Well, speaking of, Ashley, I did notice on your email sign off that you are Yoga Alliance certified. So I wanted in the container of this conversation, I wanted
Yeah,
to ask you about like if you're willing to share
absolutely.
what your kind of like awareness was of that? Was that like chosen or just like by happenstance? How did that happen for you?
Yeah, such a good question. So, the reason that I currently am is because a studio that I was teaching at required it.
Oh, okay.
Um, I was invited to teach at this yoga studio though by the owner um, because of they needed an alignment teacher for their teacher training.
Mm,
And what I didn't realize though, because I hadn't signed up for Yoga Alliance since I got certified in 2016, I hadn't like paid for the membership since then.
mhm.
And so it was just like a one and done thing. And then when I got on there, the owner had mentioned like, hey, it's really important that you do sign up for Yoga Alliance. And so it was kind of like, well, this is a gig that I am receiving um, compensation for. And so I was like, okay, I just went with it.
Mm,
And my 200-hour teacher training, and I think this is like kind of a I want to call it a gimmick because it feels gimmicky. Um, in my at the end of my 200-hour teacher training, they talked about the business of yoga. And within that, they talked about the Yoga Alliance and becoming you know, getting your membership through Yoga Alliance and how that, puts you kind of on the map, right? But that was a stipulation for that training, right? Like, and I
right.
think the only reason that 200 hours became a thing is because of the Yoga Alliance. So currently I am. I'm going to let that lapse because I'm no longer with that studio. I still have 2 sessions left with that studio for YTT, but I mean, as I go to open a yoga studio, it's almost feels like just really important to not identify with them or be a part of that anymore, because I just don't think that it matters. And every single thing that you've said within our conversation, like especially when you were talking to me about your conversation with Keith and how his studio's been around since 2002 and 99 is when Yoga Alliance even came on the map. Like it's just a no brainer to me. And I tend to think about like, well, what is the Yoga Alliance doing for us teachers, right? And I
Right.
think back to 2020 when teachers who had been paying the Yoga Alliance for years and years and years and years, their membership, whatever, it's not a crazy amount, but it is a chunk of money when, we're only compensated a certain amount for classes, right? Like for the time and the energy that's like not just in the studio, but out of the studio, getting to the studio, right?
Right.
And I just think about like what they did for the people that had been investing in them for so long. And it was like some discounts on yoga pants and, yoga mats and stuff like that. So it's, it is something that I am still a part of, but will not continue just because it feels I've always had kind of a rebellious spirit and like kind of like that going against the grain is like, oh, everybody's doing this. So I think I should probably do this other thing instead because it's just been a very interesting journey with all of it because I didn't find out about how the Yoga Alliance actually functions until maybe 2 years ago.
Mm,
And I just never resubmitted my application, right? Or paid my dues after 2016. But then when I found out, I was like, they have positioned themselves as this governing body.
right.
And that's just not what's going on here. So I think if anything, like my teacher Darren, like your teacher Keith, like these people that have been in the space for so long and were doing this thing before the Yoga Alliance was even a thing, right? Like those are, and not that there's a governing body, but like those are the people we could be looking to for, these sorts of conversations. So I don't know if that answers your question,
No, I
but
think that's wonderful. And yeah, I think everyone on this yoga teacher path has to contend with it at some point in time.
yeah,
And I think the more studios that don't,
yeah,
because, yoga students or yoga, beginning yoga teachers are kind of at the whims of like making themselves marketable
yeah,
or making themselves, like hireable.
totally.
So if those who own studios don't give credence to that, I think
Yes,
that's such a huge part of the equation.
it's huge.
And I think I think there was I wasn't thinking about this back then, but like in the 80s and 90s,
Yeah,
like I think there was such a fitness craze and
yeah,
rush. I think there was such a, like there were certificates for jazzercise and like all,
yeah,
all these other things that were
yeah.
happening that I don't think the intent behind it was, evil capitalist,
Yes,
like takeover mentality. I think it was like,
totally.
let's give a floor to this,
Yeah,
to minimum 200 hours as opposed to like, I think it's seen as like maybe you hit 200 hours and something magical happens, and
yeah,
that's just not true. Like everyone's going to hit it
exactly.
when they hit it. You might hit it at 1 hour, you might
Yeah,
not hit it for a lifetime. Like
yeah,
I don't, like
exactly.
but
Exactly.
I do, I think their intentions at the beginning were probably like, oh, there
Yeah,
should be some structure around this. But
yes,
again, I think that's like our Western mentality,
yes,
like capitalist mentality, like not like just doing this dance with yoga, and it
yeah,
just is kind of
exactly.
weird.
Exactly.
Because they're strange dance partners.
Yes,
And
very
here
strange.
we all are, dancing with it and
Yeah,
in it and making sense of ourselves and it. So,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. Thanks for asking that question.
of course. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to come to your studio.
Yes, I hope that you do. Do you have time for one more question?
Look for it. Yeah.
Okay. So, um, do you think that if you could go back and like remake your decision, would you make the same decision?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Without a doubt. Um,
Perfect.
yeah, it was a really joyful decision.
Mm,
It was, yeah, it's all unfolded very, very sweetly from
oh,
there. And yeah,
I love
yeah,
that. Beautiful.
absolutely. Thanks for asking that.
Absolutely. Would you do you have any like last remarks for a student of yoga who is perhaps looking to get certified and they stumble upon a studio that is not certified with Yoga Alliance and then one that is certified with Yoga Alliance? Any like
Yeah.
words of wisdom for them?
I mean, I do think something that was central in my line of thinking that would help other folks is like, are you grounded where you're at, and
Mm,
finding a reputable place in your place,
yes.
somewhere, someone that's like the yoga community, it's like big, but it's also small
Yeah.
locally. Um, and so like how long has the person been teaching yoga teacher training? Who taught them? Like getting into the lineage as opposed
Yes.
to the like, well, anyone can pay Yoga Alliance. Like that doesn't um it proves nothing.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so like how do we get back into like interpersonal, like not just blind trusting, but
Yeah.
like validating and like forming, yeah, just like getting into a relationship with people and finding, like it's a throwback to the old days of I guess like having like a guru or having like
Yeah.
a teacher and a disciple
Yeah.
through like that's like where 99.9% of like becoming a yoga teacher has looked like, is like
Yeah.
finding someone who you would, like, to follow
Yes.
in their, like, in their, like, in their path to
Yeah.
like deepen your spiritual practice, your philosophical practice, and like
Mm.
through that your physical practice. But like
Absolutely.
that's like not actually the point at all. It's just like one
Yes,
avenue through which like human bodies like actually digest and like retain
absolutely.
and like absorb some of
Absolutely.
those deeper lessons that aren't just like up here, right? But they're like, ooh, they're all in here. So
Embodied. Yes.
um yeah.
Mm.
And even if you don't feel like you're gonna stay in that place forever,
Yeah.
I don't know, just get a little wild. Just like Ashley and Kelly, be like a little rebel and like why not? Because the more people who like there's more power in the more people who make that decision. Because like if everyone
Totally.
opts out tomorrow, then everyone opts out tomorrow and it's like all of a sudden not a thing.
Yes,
Um
exactly. It's just
so
over.
it's only powerful if we give it power. So if you just
Yes.
withhold it, then that's that.
Ugh. Mm.
And it's the smoke tree.
Yes.
I
Oh,
remember the name
cool.
of the tree. So it might be like where you are. I don't know. I went to
Okay.
Colorado and it like jumped out at me like a
Ugh.
like an old friend. And I like
Yes.
stood in my tracks on the sidewalk alone and I was just like, "Ooh, smoke tree. Loves it here." But it's this like the colors in this leaf have like electric blue and purple and pink in the veins, but it's like a
Wow.
green leaf, but then it turns purple and then it like
Wow.
spits out this like hazy pink like flower thing that gives it its smoke effect.
Wow.
Which is it's called a smoke tree.
I
Anyway,
love
it's
it.
very cool.
Ugh.
Um, and I fell in love with it, and then I've been watching them slowly die in the Texas heat. So that's
I
good.
know. Come
So,
back.
but it's okay because they're better adapted, better native trees that we are
Yeah.
nurturing.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's a delight. So if you have,
Oh,
um, yeah, if you have those trees near you, what a delight to
I
say
love
that.
it. I'll have to look. I can't say that I like know, but I'm gonna look at a picture
Yeah,
after
go for a
this.
Google of it, and I
Yes.
just think they're so
Yes.
cool. You're
Yeah.
gonna see them when they're smoking, like when their little flowers out when you
Oh,
Google them, they're gonna look like kind of purple and pink.
oh,
I honestly think that their leaves in the early spring was like the most stunning thing I've
oh,
ever
how
seen. Like I was
cool.
like, "Am I high?" I'm like, "Look at this
What's
leaf."
happening?
I was
That's
like, "This
so
leaf is
awesome.
phenomenal."
That is
Ah,
so cool. Oh my gosh. I love
yeah.
that that is how our conversation rounded out. Like, what a
Yes.
perfect, what a perfect, like, you're like, I'm gonna yell it out.
Yeah, I was like, no, yeah, it finally came to me. I was like, oh, I got it. I've got it. Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
awesome.
Anywho, anyone's welcome to come out to the tree farm. It's a good time.
Yes, in Austin.
In Lockhart, but it's a little
Lockhart.
bit outside of Austin. Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you're teaching, when do you teach at Dharma?
I teach at Tuesdays at 6 p.m. at Dharma Yoga. Yeah.
Cool. Is it a certain style or is it just yoga asana?
It's technically on the website described as moderate, which
Cool.
we try and strike every time.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, expect some good music, expect some like, I don't know, spiritual ecology connected flow class
Yes.
and yeah, something for all levels.
And a highly adaptable, very certified yoga teacher.
So so certified.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm.
Ashley, thank you so much. This is a delight.
Kelly, thank you. I'm going to stop the recording now.
Beautiful.